water is pretty gross around here. It's full of all this seaweedy scum and it's totally brown. Don't think Rossi's too happy about it.
It wasn't just water. I think I was swimming in poo. So guys, I can't quite believe I'm saying this, but I'm speaking to you from my home county of Lincolnshire, which feels amazing. More specifically Grimsby, which is a small fishing village in Lincolnshire. It feels so good, only because when we sat down as a team and we were looking on the map of all the important landmarks, from Land's End to John O'Groats, no one really mentioned Grimsby. It wasn't one that we all sat around the table and everyone went, yeah, when we get to Grimsby, that's gonna feel good. But I'm gonna be honest, it was for me. It represents coming back into my home county, and arriving in Grimsby was always going to be a celebration, but a very personal celebration. And I think the Humber estuary was probably one of the first points where I really started to believe and think, you know, dare we dream as a team? I think we maybe can. Certainly up here, no. And certainly down here, no. But here, maybe. I mean, we've still got the wash to come, the whole of the Norfolk coast, Thames estuary, which is going to be no picnic. But arriving in Lincolnshire, maybe we can dare to dream. But the Humber estuary, it made things hard. I'm going to be honest. It was hard breaking back into my own home county, and that's just because the Humber estuary right here, it was unlike anything me and Matt have experienced on the Great British Swim so far. I need to give a shout out to the Coast Guards. I mean, they were amazing. Basically, across the Humber, it's such a busy shipping lane, and they said to Matt, look, you know, we can give you an hour maybe, like max, but Ross needs to get across in that time. If he's not, he's basically going to be playing chicken with a giant ship. I'm treating it like a race.
So, just been given permission to cross the shipping lane, so this is Ross getting in to cross the River Humber.
I'm just swimming and I can't see my watch, which is literally this close to my face, because the water is that brown. Head down swimming, swallowing water, wasn't pleasant. The smell as well, it stings the nostrils. It wasn't water like I've really experienced.
The water is pretty gross around here. It's full of all this seaweedy scum and it's totally brown. Don't think Rossi's too happy about it. It's not really the kind of seas we want when we're trying to get across the shipping lane as quick as possible.
We're across the channel, so that's good. We've made it across the River Humber, which is a huge relief because a lot of shipping. Ross didn't get run down, so that's a bonus.
You did it, Ross! You made it!
Well, that was fun. Good work, buddy. Basically, you did everything you had to do. We're over the other side. The tide's just taking us in now, so there's no point in going any further.
But now I need to get myself off to bed, and that's because I need to just give my digestive system a little bit of TLC after consuming most of the fertiliser and water in the Humber estuary. It wasn't just water. I think I was swimming in poo. So guys, woke up this morning to good and bad news from Grimsby Dock. The bad news is that Storm Callum has decided to pay us a visit, which is far from ideal. Basically, Storm Callum is best described as Storm Alley's bigger, angrier brother. If you remember, Storm Alley decided to pay us a visit in the Firth of Forth and we had to hide in Dunbar, which it wasn't pleasant, just because we had so far to go. I was going a little bit stir crazy, a little bit of cabin fever, and I wasn't in a good place. Whereas Storm Callum couldn't have really picked a better day to interfere with play. And what I mean by that is it's my birthday. We're a little bit closer to Margate. My family's on the way, Hester's on the way, birthday cake's on the way. So if you're gonna stop the Great British Swim for a storm, now's a pretty good day to stop. I'm just gonna eat cake and I'm gonna carb load on birthday cake and sweets. And then when Storm Callan decides to let us swim again, we'll swim again. But I'm a year older, I'm a year wiser, and I'm trying to practice being this chubby, old, wise sea Buddha. You know, that's what I'm trying to do today. And on that note, I need to go upstairs. I'm told there is a birthday breakfast waiting for me and presents. What is that?
Yeah.
That is amazing! Where did you even get it? Best present ever! It works and everything. It's perfect.
Anyway, this is
Oh my god! That was so close. You really took your eye out.
Oh my god! Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday, dear Ross! Happy birthday to you! Make a wish! We're gonna have a picture of your birthday.
Okay, ready, steady.
What's up, guys? Yes, this is a Viking helmet. Yes, these are my horns. This is what the Great British Swim has been missing. A little bit of trivia for you here. Grimsby used to be a Viking town as well. So the suffix of the word Grimsby, the BY, denotes that it used to be a Viking village. So there's lots of villages and towns in Lincolnshire. Harrowby, Barrowby, Gunnerby, and the BY shows that it was a Viking village. But putting Viking hats just to one side for a moment, the storm has really forced me to look back and reflect. I'm just so lucky that I'm not doing this swim alone, and these vlogs just allow me to share everything that I've learned. Whether it's 2 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I can go on social media and people will be talking about, you know, what they've learned from the swim and what they've taken and then gone on to apply it on a marathon, an Ironman, a triathlon, or something that they've done. It has just turned into this huge team sport where we're all sharing ideas. It makes every chafing wound, salt tongue, it makes it worth it, I've got to be honest. And this is the first time I've had the opportunity to dust off the old travel journal and start jotting down a few, I want to say, musings. So this part of the vlog I want to call Edgley, the sea-dwelling elder. Musing number 1, and I posted this on social media the other day and it actually got a lot of love, so hopefully this resonates with you. It goes a little something like this. Approach your goals with so much passion you forget to ask if they're possible. When I was standing on Margate Beach, I was just so enthusiastic, this childlike enthusiasm to see if we humans could swim all the way around Great Britain. It excited me so much. I was blind to things that could happen, some of the obstacles that could be thrown our way. I really did forget to ask if it was possible. Musing number 2. You don't have to ask permission when attempting the impossible. And what I mean by this is, when Roger Bannister ran under a 4-minute mile, so many people, leading physicians at the time, said humans can't run under a 4-minute mile. But Roger Bannister, who was a medical student at the time, didn't believe any of them, laced up his trainers and ran the first 4-minute mile. I kind of hope that the Great British Swim is my 4-minute mile, and also it encourages so many other people to find theirs, that you don't have to ask permission. If it's impossible, just go do it, ask permission later. And the final musing of the Great British Swim so far, and this is probably the most important overriding theory of the Great British Swim, goes a little something like this. There is a theory in sports science and sports psychology called the central governor theory. It believes that fatigue is an emotionally driven state that basically gets us to pull the physiological handbrake before we do any harm to ourselves. Say you're running a marathon, 26.2 miles. People hit the wall and they say, I've got absolutely nothing left. But when they start to get into that final home straight and they see their friends and their family and everybody's clapping and they can see the end is in sight, something happens. Those physiological pathways are opened up and that physiological handbrake is pulled and taken off. And all of a sudden they can run and they find this second wind and they sprint to the finish. And you think, hang on, at 90 miles, you said you couldn't possibly go on. So how come you're now sprinting? And there's this idea that the mind is always trying to preserve the body and stop it going beyond its limits. And I think the thing with the Great British Swim is, there's so many times when I think I couldn't possibly put on a wetsuit right now, get in and swim through cold, jellyfish infested water. But I've convinced myself to do it. And 6 hours later, at the end of that tide, I'll have swum 10 miles, 15 miles, and I'll look back and go, wow. And for me, I hope that's one of the biggest takeaways of the Great British Swim, that it doesn't matter what your sport, what your background, what your level of ability, know that you're often far more powerful than even your own mind will allow you to believe. So that's it for this week, guys. Storm Callum is still not quite playing ball and is preventing us from going any further down south, but I'm going to continue practicing patience, which is something I'm getting a little bit better at doing now with my old age. And I think that actually sums up spending my birthday on the Great British Swim, that you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable and finding normality in abnormal places. This isn't a traditional sporting event. We're now 135 days in. You can't really wish it's over. You can't really grit your teeth and get to the end. As I always say, with a marathon, an Ironman, a triathlon, something like that, you can maybe grit your teeth and get through it and know that you're going to be in your own bed, you know, in a big bubble bath at the end of the day. I'm not, you know, I'm constantly in the cold shower in my bed that's rocking from side to side in the waves. And that's okay. And as long as you make peace with that fact, the Great British Swim becomes possible. So that's it for this week, guys. I'm so glad you could join me on my strange birthday celebrations. As always, don't forget you can follow my progress on the Red Bull tracker, which is redbull.co.uk/Great British Swim. But for now, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to pray for better weather conditions all the way down to Margate.